Hey y'all, today I want to cover a very important part of the acquisition process, and that is presenting the LOI to the seller. Now, there are really three things that you should watch out for during this step in the process, and the first is doing a live walkthrough of the LOI with the seller when you present it to them. You want to do this live walkthrough for two reasons. One is that it gives you the opportunity to add context to the LOI. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of legalese within that document, so this gives you the opportunity to put it in layman's terms with the seller and add any sort of additional context that you need. And the second reason you want to do this is to gauge their reaction. Obviously, you can tell pretty immediately with a lot of sellers if you are potentially way off on the deal or potentially pretty close to the final terms. Now, if you can't do a video call for a live walkthrough of the LOI, I like a recorded video walkthrough and sending that with the LOI as a decent second option. Obviously, you can't gauge that initial reaction of the seller, but it also gives you that opportunity to, like I said, add that extra context alongside that official document that you're sending so that the seller has your perspective on what the deal could look like. The second major thing to remember is to schedule a follow-up call while you're still on the LOI presentation call. And the reason that you want to do this is to make sure that you prevent as much of that back and forth over email as possible before you can start to hash out some of the questions that the seller has and just get their feedback in general on that initial follow-up. And the third big thing to remember is deadlines. Now, I feel like there's two very different schools of thought when it comes to deadlines. Obviously, those who really like them and those who never really put them in an LOI. I'm kind of on the fence and kind of around setting a deadline. I feel like if it's a win-win deal, the seller should be pretty motivated to get back to you, and ideally, the LOI that you put in front of the seller should be a win-win situation. Obviously, there is a line, but the seller should be pretty motivated to get back to you within a reasonable time frame. But if they're stretching it out over several weeks, probably deserves a follow-up to say, hey guys, want to make sure we loop back on this in a reasonable time frame. Ultimately, you just want to make sure to consider the human element of presenting the LOI to the seller. While it is a very legal-centric document, it's an exciting moment in the M&A process of getting a potential deal in front of the seller, and that should be reflected in your communication with them. I'll have some more videos on seller communication and LOIs in the future, but y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.